Normally, I spend a ton of time in the current affairs section. Definitely just watch this series on Netflix. Welcome back to my channel. This is part 2 of my book vlog shopping video, I guess, where I totally didn't intend on buying anything at the store, but I ended up buying like 6 books at one store, and then I went to Barnes & Noble and bought another 6. Alright, so my name is Katie. Be sure to give this a thumbs up and click the subscribe button. I am kind of still working on finding my niche, but I've been reading a lot of books lately, and I can definitely make a lot of booktube type videos, I guess that's what it's called. And I have a lot of books that I've been reading that are really like heavy topics, social justice, because that's really what I'm interested in, and I hope for that to be a theme of this channel as well. But I get tired, I don't know if that's the right word, just reading heavy stuff all the time can be very, very difficult, and sometimes it makes me not want to read. I'm literally in the middle of like 4 different heavy books right now because I just keep starting them and putting them down because it's so much to read. And I know that in a way I struggle with this a little bit because I feel like that's a little bit of a luxury or a privilege, being able to just put something down when it gets to be too much. But at the same time, you're not going to be like a good ally for whatever group or anything unless you're taking care of yourself as well. And honestly, my books aren't all on one topic. It's not like it's all on racism or all on climate change or all on something. But it's just kind of like having all of that combined and constantly reading all that stuff does get to be a lot. And sometimes I read about topics that even affect me. So it's not like I'm trying to just avoid heavy topics, but I also have topics that I live with, you know? So anyway, I am trying to continually educate myself on a bunch of things, but at the same time I am getting my master's, and I am taking a class right now called Sustainable Development, where we're literally reading 3 books plus a textbook about heavy issues like climate change and climate justice and a lot of that. So in my free time for my pleasure reading, I'm trying to find books that aren't quite as heavy, I guess. And I tried to do that when I was picking out stuff at Barnes & Noble. So even though I didn't really intend to buy books or go shopping, so after I went to the first store and bought some books, then I very intentionally did go to Barnes & Noble with the intention of buying books. But my plan for the day wasn't to go book shopping, if that makes any sense at all. So I'm filming this introduction after the fact because my phone did die while I was in Barnes & Noble, so I wasn't able to show you what books I ended up picking out, but I'm going to show you the footage of me shopping and just some things that I came across, and then I will show you the books that I ended up purchasing. book looks funny because it's just super timely, but it doesn't seem like something I would buy as a hardcover. It seems like something I'd wait until it's a soft cover, but whoever wrote this definitely, you know, capitalized on this COVID work from home era. This is on my wish list. So is this. So I also like to look in the young adult section, like teenage or sometimes even younger. Sometimes I just like to read them. I'm not feeling the energy right now to read the backs of a ton of books. So if I see a title that looks familiar, I'll grab it and read it. But right now, nothing is standing out, and I just truly don't have the energy to read the backs of the books. But if anybody has any suggestions, then please let me know. I've totally messed up. Here is young adult. I don't know if that last section was also young adult or not. This is not really my style. I don't think these ones. I'll double check. I've seen so much about this, but I just can't read a book that's that long. I read the other one of this on Kindle, I think. And this is the book that I just literally got for $2 hardcover at the other store. There are literally so many school shooting books. It's kind of sad. I also just got this in hardback. A lot cheaper. Alright, so like I mentioned, I have been trying to intentionally buy books that aren't quite as heavy of topics and just try to kind of like entertain myself so I don't feel like I'm constantly doing reading for school, because I do a lot of heavy reading for my master's degree that I'm getting. So I kind of wanted to find some more just, I don't know, not mindless, but I guess also in a way kind of mindless books. I do like getting young adult books because I do find them easy to read, because I feel like I can finish it faster even if it's a lot of pages, and it makes me feel like I accomplished something because I finished the book. Now fantasy normally isn't my thing, but I am going to try to get into a couple fantasy. Anyway, I'm doing too much talking. So here's a book that I picked up, Eliza and Her Monsters. This looks good, and honestly I picked it up because I looked at it last time I went book shopping. So it says it's about a girl who is shy, weird, and friendless online. She is an anonymous creator of a wildly popular web comic. Another kid transfers to her school, and her secret is accidentally shared with the world, and it just talks about, I guess, how she deals with that. So it's called Eliza and Her Monsters, and there's some drawings in here as well. Young adult book, obviously, and I thought it was interesting. Then we have Salt to the Sea. Now, I actually only picked this up because it was in the young adult category, because it sounds kind of like a heavy book. So for me personally, even if a book is a heavier topic, if it's written for young adults, it's easier for me to read than reading a heavy book that's written for adults that's a lot of it is often like academic or packed with facts. And so even if they're heavier topics, but it's written in easier language, then I kind of count that as an easier read, if that makes any sense. So anyway, I have seen this like online when I'm searching for books. It comes up as a popular book, but I always kind of avoided it because it seems kind of long. So normally I don't like to read books that are over 400 pages. This isn't over 400 pages, but it's just about at 400, unless it's like a really, really good book. I don't know, I lose interest. It would have to be really good, and there have been some good books over 400 pages that I've read, but I don't make a habit of buying really long books. So this is Winter 1945, 4 Refugees, 4 Secrets, each one born of a different homeland, each one hunted and haunted by tragedy, lies, and war. As thousands desperately flock to the coast in the midst of a Soviet advance, 4 paths converge, vying for passage aboard the Wilhelm Gustloff, a ship that promises safety and freedom, but not all promises can be kept. It's historical fiction. I like realistic fiction. I can't say that I've read a lot of historical fiction, but I kind of feel like it goes in with realistic fiction. I don't know. And then I got this. Now, this is called Apples Never Fall. Now, normally I would literally never spend full price on a hardcover book. Actually, I've got a couple things to say about how I determine book prices. Maybe I'll make a whole separate video on that. Yeah, I'll probably do that. But in this case, I do have a Barnes & Noble card, and I saved about $27 in buying 6 of these books. And so this was 40% off because I have a card instead of the 30% off. And this is like #1 on Amazon booksellers, and it's pretty high on a lot of book lists right now. Even though this is also like slightly past 400 pages, I think I would really like the topic of this book. It starts out on the flap by saying, "If your mother was missing, would you tell the police, even if the most obvious suspect was your father?" So that seems like a pretty interesting premise, and I think she's a pretty popular author. So we're gonna give this one a try as well. This is me trying to push out of my comfort zone. This is called Once and Future Witches. This is a buy one, get one 50% off. Oh, and I did get another book here that was like, you know, also 50% off. And that discount comes because I have the card. So anyway, this is kind of magical fantasy, which is out of my comfort zone. I will say that, like, I read Harry Potter, and I actually read it as an adult. I literally only read it like 2 or 3 years ago because I have a friend who is really into it. Normally, though, fantasy isn't really my thing, but again, I'm trying to read less heavy stuff, and fantasy, I feel like, isn't really that heavy because it's fantasy. Like, even realistic fiction can be heavy. So this says, in 1893, there's no such thing as witches. There used to be in the wild, dark days before the burnings began. But now witching is nothing but tidy charms and nursery rhymes. If the modern woman wants any measure of power, she must find it at the ballot box. But when the Eastwood sisters, James Juniper, Agnes Amaranth, and Beatrice Belladonna, join the suffragists of New Salem, they begin to pursue the forgotten words and ways that might turn the women's movement into the witches' movement. Stalked by shadows and sickness, hunted by forces who will not suffer a witch to vote and perhaps not even to live, the sisters will need to delve into the oldest magics, draw new alliances, and heal the bond between them if they want to survive. So, I don't know. We will see. Oh, it's also a monthly pick from Barnes & Noble, so we'll see. This is the other one that I got for the 50% off. Obviously, this one's not like an easy book, but it's called Talking to Strangers by Malcolm Gladwell. I do like Malcolm Gladwell. I actually have all of his books. I've only read a couple. I've read Outliers, and I read The Tipping Point. I actually read those both when I was in college, so that was like over 10 years ago, but I really enjoyed those both, and lately I've been thinking that I want to read his other books as well. So even though this one isn't going to be like as easy of a read, I think it'll be interesting, and it's called Talking to Strangers. And so, I mean, his books are just like commentaries on social and psychological phenomenons, which I find interesting. I really, really liked The Tipping Point a lot. So hopefully I like the rest of his books that I've picked up at book sales as well. I do need to make a video about all the book sales I've attended, but taking it day by day here. And then this one is like the only one that was somewhat more expensive, but I did have my Barnes & Noble discount on it, which you get 10% off any book. So in this case, it was like $1 something, maybe almost $2. It's called Consumed, and it says The Need for Collective Change, Colonialism, Climate Change, and Consumerism. I think this is a newer book that has come out, and I think something that I struggle with is whenever I watch booktubers and everything, they're always talking about new books. And there's a couple new books that they've talked about on BookTube and Book Talk that I want to read, so I've bought them. But at the same time, I feel like I need to be reading all these other books that I haven't read. But at the same time, I want to be like trendy and be reading the newer types of books. So I just gotta work that out. Maybe I just need to read more. So I'm not gonna read the whole back of this because it's a little bit longer, but it says we live in a world of stuff. We dispose most of it in as little as 6 months after we receive it. The byproducts of request to consume choke landfills, pollute natural spaces, and poison the most vulnerable of us. Meanwhile, we're in the midst of an environmental reckoning as the effects of overproduction begin to strain our climate and highlight our need to preserve our planet for future generations. Now, this is also something that might help me in school, but at the same time, it's like a newer book. It's not as long. It might be written a little bit academically, so a little bit heavier, but we'll see. So those are the books that I got at Barnes & Noble. I spent $84 at Barnes & Noble. I guess it could have been worse. So if you'd like to see more of my book shopping, my hauls, I went to 3 local book sales, and I literally got so many books, I can't even tell you. I wanted to do a video for each, but now I've mixed the books so much that I can't remember which books I got at which book sale. So I'm probably just gonna have to do one really long video showing all the books I get at book sales for really cheap. The library book sales, they're like $1.50, maybe $2 for a book. So I'm gonna do a separate video on those and a whole bunch of other things. So make sure to stick around. Please click the subscribe button, give this a thumbs up, and I'll be talking about books and social justice, I guess. Hope to see you soon.